Welcome back. The conversations continue here at Davos 2025. We're celebrating two milestones, 25 years of CNBC-TV18 and 20 years of covering the World Economic Forum's annual meeting. And joining us now is a man who's also celebrating a very significant milestone. HCLTech has turned 25 since the time that it listed, and what a journey it has been as far as the company is concerned. In fact, I was just taking a look at the numbers, a CAGR growth of 20.5% over the last 25 years. CVK, congratulations and many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV18. Thanks very much for your time. Let me start by asking you about the last 25 and the many milestones that you've been able to achieve in terms of both revenue, profitability, the returns to shareholders, and then I'll talk to you about the next 25.
Yes, it's been an amazing journey for the company, and of course it's trust of our clients and the dedication and passion of so many HCLites and so many leaders who shaped the journey of the company. And we've delivered industry-leading TSR, 20.6% CAGR TSR over the 25 years, even beats Warren Buffett's record. So we couldn't be in a better place, and we are very happy about that.
Well, speaking about Warren Buffett, let's talk about the future, CVK. And at this point in time, it certainly seems like the mood is better. There is more optimism, specifically with respect to the US market. That's the mother market as far as you're concerned. Yes. What are you picking up on?
Yes, certainly there was a lot of uncertainty and lack of clarity when we met here last year. But this time, even though some of the things are not clear yet, but at least people are, most decision makers seem to know that this is the direction things are going to go, because everybody's positions are clear and they want to plan. I think the biggest theme everyone is talking about is how do you become very adaptable? Adaptability to any changes, whether it is regulations or geopolitics. I think that seems to be the biggest theme. And I think people have also prepared to some extent, because none of this is new, whether it is tariffs or geopolitics. So I think we are better, leadership seems to be better prepared to deal with the change that could be coming up.
And in terms of business confidence, and that translating into perhaps higher spends?
I think so. There was a holding pattern when we met last time. And I think over the last 2 quarters, we already see the discretionary spend picking up. Financial services, we saw a good pickup in the last 2 quarters. Last quarter, even the technology and all other verticals, we see some good pickup. And I'm really hoping that this momentum will continue. And given all the conversations, I feel more confident
now.
Well,
speaking of the conversations here are all about AI in its different facets. You're going all in as far as Agentic AI is concerned, and that seems to be the big theme for you here in Davos this year.
Yes. So, Sheeren, the way we are looking at AI is, first and foremost, every service that we deliver needs to really benefit from generative AI. And that means we are proactively talking to our clients as to what is the art of the possible. If we believe we can provide maybe 25% more efficiency, we are not shying away from it. We are talking to them saying, this is the art of the possible. We need you to walk this journey with us. We have an amazing platform, AI Force, which leverages all the best of breed language models, small language model, large language model, agentic, all of that. And we are proactively implementing it. We already have a very good success for 6 large clients. And we want to roll out to 100 clients by financial year 26, which is March of 26. And that journey is going well. That's on the service transformation side. There is another very big area, which is the value stream innovation. Like if you're working for a bank, there is an opportunity. We built a solution for trade surveillance. We are working for a very large hospital for the physician assistants. So these solutions are what we're calling as industry-focused repeatable solutions. We have come up with about 70 solutions. All of them have at least 1 or 2 clients who are already using it. They're seeing the value. And we want to kind of build on it, right? Eventually, our business is a big part of our business is services. The way it will evolve is it's going to be more solutions. It's a combination of IP and services. That's the way we believe the industry will evolve, and we are just walking that path.
And that's exactly the conversation that I've been having here in Davos with your peers as well on making this transition from being services to being services and IP driven and IP led. But you know, the 6 success stories that you spoke to us about, can you give me some color on the kinds of impact you've been able to drive on account of the adoption?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. A very large financial services firm headquartered out of US, where we are one of the largest service providers for them. They have a modernization program. It's a 5-year modernization program, and they're spending roughly $1 billion a year. We believe through all the interventions, we can finish that in 4 years, which is $1 billion saving.
Okay.
And we have created proof points in a certain segment of the program to demonstrate this. So, and they're very happy to adopt it and really walk the journey with us.
So would you say that it's largely the BFSI side that is the early adopter at this point in time?
It's
for
BFSI. This is really how do you use generative AI to accelerate a modernization journey. But there are other use cases, like for a very large technology company, we are using generative AI to significantly reduce the test cycles, and also the number of test cases are significantly higher, which increases the quality of the end outcome.
Okay.
And there is a big healthcare company where we piloted the physician assistants.
Okay.
Conservatively, it's expected to save at least $100 million a year. But the challenge there is how do you drive adoption across all the doctors who are part of that healthcare ecosystem.
Right.
And that's a journey that's just begun.
Well, speaking of the journey now, let's talk about your own journey with respect to your people and being able to adapt to the future and the future needs of your clients. How many have you already been able to train to deal with an AI world, and what's the outlook on that front?
So I think we have 2 programs. One is really the users of AI, right? They're not the developers in AI, which pretty much everybody in the company needs to be a user of AI. Very large percentage of our teams are already trained as to use some aspects of AI, whether it is GitHub Copilot or other M365, many other things. Now, there is also a set of people who are building new applications, fine-tuning, LLM ops, all of that. I think we have about 4,000 people who are very capable to build, engage with clients, and who are architects and things like that. And they're also significantly deployed in the 8 labs that we have built over the last maybe a year or so.
So in terms of driving efficiency within HCL, what have you been able to unleash and unlock?
So HR is a big topic, right? Because we are constantly skilling people, redeploying people. So we have built a solution for people deployment because the skill matrix that we have is very complex. So I think just by all the data that we have, the projects that people have done, we're able to precisely kind of identify the person for the role. What used to take maybe a few days, we are able to even do it within hours. So I think that's a significant thing. That's something we are trying to scale up internally significantly.
Let's now talk about the bread and butter stuff. You've done the quarter, so I won't go back to the numbers, but essentially I want to understand from you, the margin trajectory from here on. You've seen 20% kind of margins. You're below that at this point in time. When do you anticipate being able to get back to that?
So we have a program called Project Ascent, which is really geared towards improving margins. And this quarter, we almost had 100 basis points benefit. But Sheeren, while we are significantly gaining from those programs, we are also investing a lot more in AI. So we are more focused on making all the right investments than necessarily delivering maybe a 1% higher margin. And we are also we're not covering the entire market. We also need to invest in sales. So that's another area of investment. So definitely a lot of improvements are happening, but we are investing for the future. And even on the other front, right, it's not about just everybody is chasing growth, but the most important thing we are focused on is to client relevance. Because the world is changing so much, technology is changing so much. The existing operating model is not going to take us to the next few years.
So what will have to change? And that brings me to the very important question. 25 done. Let's look at the future over the next 25. what is no longer relevant, or what is sell past its date, past its sell date at this point in time as far as the next 25 is concerned? Where will you need to make changes as far as the operating model is concerned?
I think the model that has been extremely successful, I think the time has come for it to be disrupted. IT services as a business, I think we are at the cusp of a very big inflection point.
You've been one of the brave people who've been saying this for a while,
but
haven't you?
That is the reality, because we've always had this linear growth of people and revenue. And I think definitely if anybody is very successful in leveraging AI within their organization for their service delivery, we should definitely see a decoupling of headcount growth and revenue growth.
Okay.
At least a company should be able to deliver 5 to 10% growth without having to increase the number of people. You may end up paying more, your wage bill may go up, but headcount cannot have a linear growth, because the biggest benefit of generative AI is to how much more efficient you can in whether software development or in operations, everything, right? Product development.
Sure.
And that has to reflect in the business model. And we're continuously driving how can we get more value, because every program unlocks some human capital. Now, how can that human capital be converted into growing the business? So that's really the journey. It's a tough journey, but we are at it.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a tough journey, but since you're talking about this decoupling, what does it mean in terms of the numbers that you will have to hire? Because this has, of course, been an industry that has been driving employment of a certain kind of people. Now, what happens as far as headcount is concerned as you look at this decoupling that you spoke of?
I think the headcount growth would not be in the same proportion as revenue growth. We will continue to hire, because with some more uptick in the external environment, there'll be good growth. And maybe if growth was X, headcount growth will be X minus 5% or something.
Okay, so that's as far as, headcount and revenue and that being decoupled over the next 25 years as you change your operating model.
That's not even 25 years. That's here and now in the next 3 to 5 years.
Next 3 to 5 years, you believe that that's likely to happen?
We should start seeing signs of that. I mean, we're already seeing, this year we have grown. We've given a guidance of 4.5 to 5%, but our headcount would be more or less flat. So that's really the beginning of a new wave. That's what I would say.
So the other transformative changes that you believe that you will need to make, the industry will need to make as well over the next 25 years?
Its services are, you need to have a platform-based approach. I think there is definitely a lot of emphasis on, when we've heard of software as a service, but service as a software, that's another trend which is evolving. And it's about using the right instrumentation and right tools and platforms. And also, it's not just selling services. You combine it with some of the IP and the solution and the software products that we have to really deliver an end outcome. I think it's a combination. I think more and more the services business model will start looking like a software business model.
Well, you delivered a very strong quarter, but the market is now, of course, worried whether you will be able to do better than what you've been able to deliver, and whether there is likely to see some degree of underperformance. What would you have to say to that?
I think we have delivered the industry-leading growth both in the upcycle and the downcycle. I think that is the biggest proof point. Over the last 4 years, 2 years of upcycle, we delivered industry-leading growth in services, and 2 years of downcycle, we're leading the industry in growth. And I think that's a proof point for what is to come.
In terms of deals, the pipeline, of course, is looking very, very strong, at a record high at this point in time. As you look at unexplored markets, as you look at unexplored verticals, how different do you believe that you're likely to be as an organization in terms of both those areas over the next 25 years? Yeah,
I'll start with the verticals. I think we are quite well diversified in the private sector. It's only the public sector is where we have very little presence. So we've created a new team and a leadership to drive the business in the public sector, especially starting with state and local governments and also the federal government. We think some very good opportunities will evolve, especially which is led by our software and the services around it. So that's a big play, public sector. And in terms of
And
geographies,
public sector, you're talking about globally, or?
yeah, it's globally, but we're really taking a big shot in the US to start with. We're already present in Australia in the public sector, but US is the next, UK will be the third. And India, we're already present for our software business. We pretty much serve almost all the departments. In terms of geographies, I think, we had a footprint to grow Germany, France, Australia, Canada, and Japan. I think that's already it's in good motion. We are
Welcome back. You're watching CNBC-TV18. Conversations continue here at Davos 2025. And joining us now is the Minister for Skills Development, Jayant Chaudhary. Mr. Chaudhary, many thanks for joining us here in Davos. I would imagine it's been a busy last few days for you, meeting people both on the government side as well as the private sector. You know, the big story from an India point of view continues to be its people, the talent capital, the talent pool that is being leveraged not just by domestic companies, but more so by global companies. What's the big takeaway? What's the big read that you take away from here?
Well, I think at Davos, over the years, and you've been here, you've seen the progress. The brand India is being respected, recognized world over. And of course, the largest component of brand India is not the companies and not the governments and not the leaders as much as it's the people. They are well accepted in the communities where they reside. They are providing leadership. And India's role in the community, larger community of nations, the way they've taken up the leadership role, whether it's climate change or the finesse with which we organize the G20 track, and on various issues of global importance. Our positions are well reasoned and respected. So I think first time for me coming to Davos, but it was resounding. The way the respect for India, the interest in India, the curiosity, the desire to come to India and invest in India and invest in our people.
Yes. Well, and that has been something that has been playing out through the Global Capability Center story, where India clearly is at the forefront at this point in time. But, you know, speaking about skills development in the context of a high-tech world, in the context of an AI-led and an AI-driven world, a lot of the heavy lifting, of course, the private sector will have to do, but it will also have to be in conjunction with the government. So what's the plan now as far as being able to address some of these new sectors, some of these sunrise sectors, so to speak, from a skills point of view?
So I think Indian government has been doing the right things. Some of these new innovations, when they first come in, you have to give it time to grow, for every sector to understand the full potential, to be able to research, innovate, tinker. And I think that's the ground setting has been done by government. We have a national strategy for AI. We're trying to do the institutional building. There was some catching up to do. Our capacity to compute, our approach on open system versus proprietary, and our usage of digital technologies, the way we've utilized them for providing a social good, for dissemination and delivery of social welfare schemes, is also part of that story. You know that 90 million plus mobile users, lowest data costs, there's adaptability of Indian consumers to accessing and using technology. So that is a kind of readiness that people can tap into. That's an open market. And I think even some of the AI story emerging, the innovation, the way government of India is saying that we don't need to have regulation, oversight, law as much as we need to have standardization, create resource centers, enable research. And let's unleash a new wave of private sector in India and let them take leadership on the global stage. We already have capacities. We have programmers, we have coders, technically minded people on STEM. 43% of women in higher education in STEM. So even the gender issue, because some concerns on AI, ethical AI, and what it means is if the algorithms are not designed by people who are diverse, then the end product will not represent the world.
Absolutely, the biases would.
So the biases will continue. So that there, India's position on data sovereignty, our continuation of trust, and the values that we represent, I think that is also important. And we're building all of that into the structures that we are creating for tomorrow. Even on AI, 16% of the global workforce on AI with AI skills is India. And recently QS on the Future Skills Index ranked India second. Stanford has said on AI penetration, they've released an index and they put us ahead of even USA. These are all encouraging signs.
No, encouraging signs for certain, but what will you be focused on? What will you prioritize, especially when we talk about, ensuring that we have the requisite skills for our people to continue to make good of this advantage? What is the government looking at specifically from an AI perspective today?
I think right now we have to prepare. There is going to be some amount of disruption. There's a lot of fear and hype also being created. There's some jobs that are going to be taken away. If you break down a job into a series of tasks, and that is what Skill Ministry has been advocating for, and we're working towards standardization. NCVT, which are the regulators, created occupation standards, nano credentials, micro credentials. You break down any job into a series of tasks, and you compare that and benchmark it to the global standard. So that's the whole exercise. And if you do it, look at it that way, then AI is about complementarity. It's about augmentation. Jobs may not go away as much as they might make people in those jobs more effective and efficient. So that's good for everyone. But we have to prepare for that. So AI readiness, foundational AI courses are something we're going to push out. I'm also Minister for Schools. And you know that schools across our network, even central schools, Kendriya Vidyalaya schools, Navodaya Vidyalaya schools, those students are already learning that foundational AI. There's a program with METI and private sector, Intel, big companies have come on board, IBM, Microsoft. They're helping us design those shorter term courses so that we can certify that a large percentage of our population is AI ready. But I would still urge corporate India, because CNBC, everyone watches, all the business leaders watch, tune in. I think every sector needs to have a dedicated AI team to ideate. And when you say AI, don't think you just need engineers and coders. You need thinkers, you need philosophers, you need people who understand market, you need non-technical people to talk to the technical people and create the products, create the layers. So I think every Indian enterprise must have dedicated AI teams to understand, analyze, and disseminate.
There was also efforts underway to try and ensure that there is more of an alignment between the needs of industry and the skills that we are imparting at this point in time. And I know that this has been work in progress over the last several years.
It will always be.
I would imagine. But where are we at this point in time? Because, what you hear from a lot of industry players also is that, look, we have the jobs, but you don't find the people with the requisite skills. And then you have people saying, where are the jobs?
So the thing is, in countries like India, there's a context to this, which are young, where labor is in mass supply, where there's a large informal sector. There's a natural progression to how things happen. We've seen that in other countries, development of countries. So our goal is to formalize the sector, creditize learning, create an appreciation for that, an aspiration for skilling, weave it into and integrate it to our formal education systems, so that students don't feel that degree nahi kar paya, chalo diploma kar leta. And based on skills, not a resume or a degree, should the hiring happen. And this is where we really need corporate India to step up. You hear so much talk about 70-hour week or 90-hour week. I'm not getting into that. I've had a position on that earlier.
What is your position on that?
I think firms that want to charge a client hours will talk in terms of hours. And firms that want to create a product and innovate will talk in terms of efficiency. So it's not just hours. We know. In government, we know. But people can sit in office and do other things. You need to be effective in what you're doing. And that effectiveness is very important. What Prime Minister says, that zero defect and zero effect, sustainably, climate responsibly, and creatively, and produce for the world according to the best global standards. That is what brand India should be. So I think what I'm saying here is that even as this is an iterative process, there will be changes that happen in the landscape. My ministry's job is to work actively with industry, so we're going to do regular skill surveys, skill gaps, skill assessments, and we are going to have to constantly retool our formal and applied sciences and technical education aspects.
Further upgradation of the ITIs, etc., to meet with the new needs?
That's a massive scheme. It's been announced and it's being worked out. There's a dialogue that is happening with industry and states because you need active participation from them. You need to give them real ownership of this exercise. And that's where real change will happen.
By when do we start to see change happen on that front, given the fact that the scheme is already in progress?
I think we're already seeing change. Once you started that dialogue, you have to understand that every state government must prioritize skills. And I think after the Prime Minister talks about skills, after the Finance Minister talks about skills, it gives us all a mandate and a certain power. And I think even Chief Ministers, our Honorable Chandrababu Naidu ji, I spoke with him, and all the Chief Ministers, Fadnavis ji, our Chief Minister from Telangana is here, Revan ji, Central Ministers. You ask them. Every dialogue they've had with every global leader, corporate leader, they're stressing about the skills.
Mr. Chaudhary, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us here in Davos. We wish you the very best of luck with the plans that you're currently working on. It is going to be an arduous but a very critical and important journey to make. But thanks very much for your time. We will take a break here, but the conversations continue in Davos. We're back with you with more insight, more voices and more opinions. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Back in a moment with more.